Okay, and hello, and welcome to the Slam Jam Wrestling Show. I'm David Postansky. I'm joined by KD today. How are you doing, KD?
I am awesome. Thank you. Very much looking forward to talking some wrestling. How are you doing though?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm excited. There's a lot going on in recent times in the world of wrestling. Now, this is your first time
Mhm.
actually on the Slam Jam show, as it were, and
Yeah.
so this will be good. Like in one sense, like you said you want to talk some wrestling. Let's talk some wrestling.
I'm
Well,
more than happy.
okay, so like just because literally we have jumped into this, like,
Mhm.
are you an AEW guy? Are you WWE guy? A bit of
Uh,
everything.
Yeah, I'm a both. I grew up always being a WWE guy, but watched AEW since it started as well though. Not gonna lie, if I had to pick, I'd definitely pick WWE at the moment. Asked me that a year ago, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Let's pick up on that. Why do you think that is? Like, it feels like ever since Cody left AEW to WWE, there was a shift in momentum.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a lot more the Triple H taking over creative, the creative direction of WWE. Suddenly, it just started making a lot more sense. Week by week, things carried on, almost like there wasn't a extremely forgetful old man running the show. And at the same time, you suddenly had like AEW. I don't know whether people seem to think that the storytelling's got worse and worse. But to me, it's kind of always on the same level. I think it's just the novelty of the amazing matches, which are amazing.
Yeah.
It's kind of worn off for everyone now. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I definitely agree with that.
Mm.
I think it's a combination. I think, again, I felt like a momentum shift did come when Cody left AEW and went to WWE. It made a big statement that you actually had one of the EVPs had kind of said, like, I give up on this. And that kind of stung. He then turned up in WWE and had like a good run of things until he got injured. But also it coincided that up until that point, like no one had jumped ship from AEW to WWE,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so of all of the people to do it, for it to be one of the EVPs, plus
Mm.
on top of that, I feel like whereas everyone was so excited to see people jump to AEW, we were starting to get to the point where we're like, well, Miro hasn't been on TV in a very long time,
Yeah,
and FTR,
yeah,
like FTR are one of the strangest things just because they were like they held 3 tag team titles. They main evented a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, which is run by Tony Khan, and yet
yeah.
they seem to not really factor into AEW itself.
I can only assume that's to do with because apparently a lot of the I don't know if you watched the Dax Harwood podcast that he does now. Um, a lot he said in there basically without saying too much. There's a lot of um there's not a lot of love between the Young Bucks and FDR, put it that
Yeah.
way.
Well, yeah,
And
but
that's
that was always that was what we already. That's how come FTR are called FTR. That's where they got the name.
exactly, yeah.
And so when the FTR were coming in, we're like, we're finally going to get this thing. And then this is almost like weird Vince McMahon booking from back in the
It
day.
is.
Because if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
remember, like when there was WWF and WCW, it'd always be Vince McMahon would steal someone from WCW and then job them out, or he'd get
Yeah.
like even when he got Sting and WCW was 10 years since it existed, they still had to have Sting lose because WCW can't win. They had
Yeah.
Taz from ECW as the world ECW world champion, and they had him lose to Triple H. It's like, but he's your guy now. He's not the competition, and it just feels like the Young Bucks in that respect. They were like, well, they're the competition still. It's like, no, they're not. They literally work for you.
No, it is. You're exactly right. It's like the classic 3 week push that WWE used to have that has carried over to AEW and the same kind of thing. Now someone new comes in. It's like a new toy, isn't it? And then, but yeah, FTR and Young Bucks, it really makes no sense why they haven't capitalized on that.
Yeah,
Because I think they still only had 2 matches, if I'm correct. They never had a
I
winner
think so. Yeah,
match.
yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
we had to make way for the guns.
Well, yeah, but do you know what? Like, the interest in yeah, like, the current tag team champions obviously are the Guns. I'll be honest. Did you see? Have you seen AEW Dynamite from last night?
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen half of it. I don't mind hearing any spoilers, but for all I know, anything could have happened. But as best I know, everyone who was a champion before, did any titles change? I don't think they did they?
No.
No, I
It
don't
was
think so.
go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, so you have the elite who are the trios champions, and you have FTR who I don't think are going to factor into Revolution, which is coming up this weekend.
No, I thought maybe they'd be in the battle royal, but spoiler alert for that, they weren't even in it. Like,
Well,
for the last
absolutely, yeah.
race.
Okay, so we can do some predictions for that. We can chat about all kinds of stuff, but what? Okay, just to get a bit more of a sense. So, have you seen Raw from this week?
Yeah.
Well, we did get
I'm
a
always up to date.
always up to date. That's amazing. Like,
Always
there's
up
so
to date.
much wrestling nowadays; it's hard to.
I will rephrase it. Always up to date, just with AEW and WWE. If you only count Raw, SmackDown, and Dynamite,
Raw,
then I'm up to
Raw,
date.
SmackDown, and Dynamite. So yeah, Rampage.
I try sometimes, but it's very easy. It's missable, It
Yeah,
never really feels like it's like its own little world to the side. Same as Dark
yeah,
and that.
yeah. Oh, do you know what? I haven't seen Dark since like the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah,
Like
Same.
it's, I think that's like the most missable thing. And like AEW have like a roster of like 500 people now.
It's unreal.
And there's
Far
some
too
people
big.
that just exist on Dark.
Yeah. I thought like Eddie Kingston and uh Ortiz, all their stuff's been on Dark.
Yeah.
Like, they just never appeared up until yesterday. They were on Dynamite. I won't spoil it for you, but they just didn't do much. They disappeared.
Well, wasn't the thing. I've seen bits and pieces. I saw half of Dynamite live, but it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I get up this morning and I've kind of half forgotten it. And I usually watch it again. Had a bit of a rush day. And so I haven't caught up with it before the show fully. But I get
Yeah.
the thing was that Eddie Kingston's like he's quitting and he's not really, it's kayfabe. He's going to Ring of Honor, which what do you make of the, did you ever, well, we just sort of said you've watched, did you ever watch Ring of Honor in its history?
No, it was Ring of Honor that made me quite excited for AEW because as I just before AEW got announced, so I was like, I'd love to watch Ring of Honor, but I feel like I'd have to do so much to try and catch up and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So hence why I was always interested. I used to watch it actually though, say about 10 years ago when CM Punk was in there, when Daniel Bryan was in there. There used to be a wrestling channel on
The
Sky.
wrestling channel in the UK, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a shame that was. That like the death of the wrestling channel was basically that TNA went to Bravo or whatever it was, and it was like that was the end of the channel basically.
Yeah, pretty much fun.
That was the good old days though, when like every time there was a commercial break, it was just loops of the Crazy Frog.
Oh god, yeah, the good old days, of course.
Absolutely. Okay, so KD, let's dive in a little bit with some AEW Revolution predictions. I've got the match listings here. So
Good.
we got, and this I did see that this went a little bit further. We've got Christian Cage against Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Who do you think's taking this one?
He's got to be Jungle Boy, surely. Because Christian's such a great heel as well. He needs to get his come up. But I don't remember him ever being this good of a heel in WWE. Like he should have had the freedom all along. But as good of a heel he is, makes it even more likely, or even more so to me, that Jungle Boy should win.
Yeah, I think like this feud also, it feels like it's gone on for about 8 months or a year or something.
Yeah.
You had the evil Kane version of Luchasaurus involved, and now, yeah, I think Jungle Boy needs to win this one just so that both of them can go their separate ways and do something different in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
As a stab in the dark prediction, I predict that Marco Stunt is gonna turn up and help Jungle Boy.
I'm not gonna lie. I love Marco Stunt.
Oh,
Like he
really?
was just, just watching him get thrown about by people. And
Yeah.
of course, he was talented and all that, yeah, sure. But him getting thrown about, amazing.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, I don't mind the idea of Marco Stunt in concept. In practice, like they sometimes, because I can't remember who, someone got injured in the Jurassic Express, and so Marco Stunt ended up like tagging. It was either Jungle Boy was injured or Luchasaurus. Oh, I think Luchasaurus was
Oh, yeah,
injured or something.
yeah, I think it was Luchasaurus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like, well, they just continued, and it was if like Marco Stunt was competitive with guys that he shouldn't have been competitive
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
and I was always like, you're pushing the boundary here a little bit. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it
okay,
should be more like 1,000.
yeah. Next up, we have the Elite: Kenny Omega, Matt, and Nick Jackson against the House of Black: Malachi, Brody, and Buddy Matthews for the Trios Championship. And who do you think is going to take this?
I reckon it'll be the Elite, but I'd prefer it to be House of Black. But I think either way, it's going to be a banging match. It's going to be
Oh
the
yeah.
match of the night.
Oh, that will be an interesting one. Like usually, it's going to be like a 6.5-star match, of course. Like in terms
Oh,
of the Meltzer ratings.
mm-hmm.
What's interesting, one of the things that I've seen in like wrestling news this week is just the talk of Kenny Omega's contract coming to an end, and like apparently it ended in January, but because he was injured, they're able to just
Yeah,
extend it. And if the Elite lose the belts, I'll see it as a sign that perhaps Kenny could be on his way out. But I don't think Kenny's leaving. I don't think he's
no,
leaving. I think, and my main justification for this is that video game isn't out yet. Like,
true. Yeah, yeah,
it feels like Kenny Omega, because he's such the video game fanatic, and he was like, they was like saying he's so deeply involved with the
yeah,
making of
yeah.
it. I just don't think he can face the concept of leaving before that's actually come out.
I mean, then again, though, have you seen the trailers of it, like the gameplay?
Yeah, it's not got the greatest graphics.
But the gameplay is not that great.
Yeah,
So
it like
maybe he does want to like hide himself once that comes out. I don't know.
yeah. Okay, KD, are you much of a gamer?
Oh yeah, so.
Okay, so like if you get the reference, to me the graphics on it kind of look like Resident Evil Code Veronica for the Dreamcast. Like
Okay,
I
that's
shared,
not good.
yeah, that's it goes back to like 1999
Mm.
style graphics. When I looked at it, and it was like I shared it on social media, like it showed Hangman Page and Brian Danielson, and I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, this looks like Hangman Page legitimately looked like Wesker from Resident Evil. It was like, I was like, they need to up these graphics.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, I think the Elites need to win and keep the belts, because they just had the series of like the best of 6 matches or the best of 7. So for them to lose them straight back to House of Black doesn't make sense to me.
Nah.
Next up, we have Ruby Soho, Soraya, and Jamie Hayter for the AEW Women's World Championship.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I would be fine with Soraya winning. Um, I like how she's pivoted to this heel role now. I really like that.
Mm,
Which is smart to do, you know, because the fans were going against that. I mean, God knows how they originally thought she was a face, you know. But yeah, I think I prefer Soraya, but I'm not too bothered either way. Is the worst thing. I'm not a huge Jamie Hayter fan.
yeah,
Ruby Soho has been pretty inconsequential in there. I worry every time I see Paige wrestle,
yeah,
and the storyline's just not there with the women's wrestling at the moment in there.
yeah, absolutely. Like it had some hot moments last year. I remember like we were aiming towards Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there was like the dodgy thing where Thunder Rosa didn't win it when everyone thought she was going to win it, and then she did win it, and apparently she upset a lot of people backstage, and then she got injured, and then we had the whole debacle, which kind of, we had the men's world champion was CM Punk, and they were like, well, we're leaving the belt on him because CM Punk's finally the champion. And then they were like, but we've got an interim champion. And then we've like, oh, well, Thunder Rosa's injured. We better do an interim champion there. And then after a month or two,
yeah,
they were
yeah,
like, oh no, she's stripped to the title. We don't care. And it's like, but
yeah,
then you're
yeah.
leaving the belt. It was just like, this was
You,
probably one of the things that last year, all of the plans for AEW, you know, it's not Tony Khan's
yeah,
fault. People get injured, wrestlers
yeah, yeah.
brawl backstage, everything had to take a, you know, it took a big hit. I think Soraya needs to win. I don't think it benefits her. Like, in one sense, it would have been cool for her to win at Double or Nothing. But if they'd done that, it would be once again, oh, it's a WWE wrestler coming in and winning at the big show. So, but I'm all for Soraya winning just because I'd like to see that happen in her career.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
cool.
And maybe then she'll finally get to the Tokyo Dome.
Maybe she was finally what?
Get to the Tokyo Dome. Didn't she say like on Thingy that she wrestled in the Tokyo Dome and then afterwards was like, oh no, I didn't actually, did I?
That's super weird. I hadn't heard that. Like, how can you not know if you've been to the Tokyo Dome?
God knows, man.
Well, I suppose they've been to a lot of arenas, but the Tokyo Dome is a fairly significant one. You know.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have Jericho and Ricky Starks.
I mean, it's got to be Ricky Starks, hasn't it? Surely.
You'd think so. I think there is the small chance that Jericho may come up with some logic of, well, I need to win this just so that when Ricky Starks wins later, it means more.
Yeah.
So there is the chance they'll do that if they're planning to keep that feud going until Double or Nothing, which I wouldn't say is a bad thing. I think it makes more sense for Jericho to take this win, and then Starks to get it at Double or Nothing.
I'm not going to lie though. 3 more months of this, I'm not here for that.
Wow. Okay. So what we're in? Is it 3 more months? What we were at the beginning of March, April, two and a half. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I just know they're quarterly, aren't they? Roughly, like they have like 4 AEW, which I like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it could carry on in that case. I reckon it will probably like end maybe like a month down the line at one of those random Dynamite shows they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what about Samoa Joe and Wardlow for the AEW TNT Championship?
That TNT title has been passed about so much lately.
Yeah. Well, also, it's the thing that there's been the TNT Championship and now there's the All Atlantic Championship. In the last couple of weeks, like as soon as the show started last night and Cassidy came out, I was like, this title feels like they're making it more meaningful than the TNT Championship now.
Yeah. It does feel like a lower, like mid-card title to me, though, the All Atlantic, which is cool with the amount of people I've got. I'm fine with them having all these like extra champions now. I like the TNT title, but I would have. See, I like Samoa Joe as a champion, but I do think Wardlow's going to win because of all the cutting his hair with the dad stuff in there, There's an actual bit of storyline there with a reason for Wardlow to beat the bad guy, So it would make sense, but I don't know.
Yeah.
To be fair, with this one, could go either
way. I'm still going to lean on the idea that Joe's going to keep it. I think Joe will keep it a bit longer. And again, like this feels like almost the throwaway pay-per-view. It's their first pay-per-view of the year, which is again kind of crazy. And because it just feels like we're now into the 3rd month of the year, and it's like, oh, this is the first pay-per-view. But I feel like this is just going to lay the table for whatever they've got planned for Double or Nothing. So I'm placing my bets on Joe. Next up, we have a Texas Death Match. We have Adam Hangman Page and John Moxley. What's the bet that Moxley bleeds?
I wouldn't be surprised if he comes to the ring bleeding somehow.
That would be brilliant. And they just don't explain it.
Yeah.
I mean, Goldberg would frequently do that. He'd come out and he'd have bashed his head and he'd just be busted open before the match begins.
Yeah. I think Moxley at least would be smart enough not to get concussed as well, though. Just slash himself in over. Okay, smart might not be the correct word actually, but okay. Like the other day when he had that match last week against who was it now? Who did he face? Oh, Evil Uno. He didn't get.
My god, I can't believe that was the main event. Like, okay, so sorry, I just need to react to that a second.
Like, good.
The thing is, right? So, like, this is some of the bizarre AEW booking for me. That is like, so when you look at Moxley's career, his first win in AEW was Joey Janela. His 100th win is Evil Uno. And it's like, you're not really making this guy look like the equivalent to Roman Reigns from The Shield.
Yeah. In all honesty, as much as I like Moxley, I'd like to see it with Ambrose. I don't see why he keeps winning the rest of the year. Like, because he did it again. The one that just came out, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't quite get it. For me, the best justification for that is that in AEW's Hour of Need, he dropped
Mm,
the like there was all the stuff where he had the belt, no one thought he would have the belt, where he kept it against Punk in that incredibly short match. And then they
yeah,
had
yeah.
the rematch, Punk won it, and they said that Moxley was going on holiday and he came back and he sort of did what was necessary to
Mhm.
put a recognizable face at the top of the company. So I appreciate Moxley for that, but yeah, otherwise Moxley has been and the stuff with I keep saying that Brian Danielson.
Yeah,
I
I
enjoyed
know
a lot of the Blackpool Combat Club stuff.
you.
So yeah, to me, wrestler of the year. I find it hard to not say it was Roman for the last year
Yeah, same,
because,
same.
like, classically in the past, I haven't been the biggest Roman fan, but it's
Mm.
finally everything has made sense.
Yeah, yeah. Like that's part of the reason why, like, when you look at the storytelling in WWE now, like, just that storyline is just like miles above anything else that's been in WWE for years and years. Like now as well. But even years before, like, hasn't been a storyline with so much like nuance put into it for ages. But oh
Yeah.
yeah, so I reckon Hangman will probably win this, but they will both be destroyed by the end of it. There's
Yeah.
going to be
Oh,
blood.
yeah. Yeah. The only interesting thing will be, will they, I suppose, lead to something going like there's the whole thing with like the Blackpool Combat Club all just going heel and stuff like this,
Mm.
or what comes next. And again, for AEW Revolution, I feel like this is just again laying the table. I feel that by the end of Revolution, we'll have a good sense of what Double or Nothing will be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you see like CM Punk coming back? Because a lot of people are talking about the
Yes.
possibility. Really?
Yes. Now, KD, I have had a lot of theories that I've said on this show over the last few months that I believe it's a work. I still believe it's a work. And one day
Wow.
either I'll make a long form video or I'll release a book about why I think it's all the work. And it'll be very illuminating to the evidence. Now, I might be completely wrong, but I just think it's a weird thing where, like, perhaps the most interesting story in wrestling from the last year happened completely off camera. And as soon as
Mm.
all the fans heard it, they were like, well, all of these wrestlers hate each other. It must be real life. It's like, wait, we're meant to believe that they hate each other on the screen. So
Yeah,
with
yeah,
CM
yeah.
Punk being like the mind that he is and everything, I feel like this is blurring the lines. He teased some of these things in interviews and at the media scrums and that about, I wanted to blur the lines a bit. It's like, well, nothing blurred the lines more than this. So
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to think that, but yeah, I don't know. It's just because like it would be a very weird way to for Tony Khan to like uh, to push it afterwards, by just not talking about it, like Ariel Warning, not talking about it at all.
okay, well
Didn't
let yeah, go on.
I was going to say, didn't
Okay,
Axel Steele get fired as well?
yeah, okay. So here's the thing. So this, I've made notes on this. I will make the video.
Mm.
I'll release the book. I'll do something with this at some point. But here's the theory: CM Punk was injured the day after winning the world title at Double or Nothing last year,
Mm.
and his foot was busted. He needed a ton of surgery on it. And so then it rolls forward, and it's like, well, we keep saying he's interim champion, and Punk turns around to Tony Khan and says, look, I can't come back full time because I'm not ready, but I can wrestle one match because you've planned all out to be in Chicago. And if I'm not there, then it's just going to be
Yeah,
like a bit of a
yeah,
damp whimper. So CM Punk with his constant tributes to Bret Hart, and as you may see, the Bret Hart fan I am, I've got like some Bret Hart inspired
yeah,
virtual scenery here. My theory is that CM Punk is so paying tribute to Bret Hart. He was like, well, you think 30 years later or 20 years later, 25 years later, everyone still talks about the Montreal screw job. And the Montreal
yeah.
screw job was that there was something dodgy happened on the screen, but then most of it happened backstage. Did Brett punch Vince? Vince is the ultimate heel now because he feuded with Brett, so that made Vince who he was. And it's like you've got now Tony Khan can't be Vince McMahon and get in the ring, but you have the EVPs who literally are wrestlers, and it's like you can just lay the groundwork until Punk's return. Now, even if it's not the case, they could go with it, run with it.
You know what, man? I'm not going to lie. That legitimately makes sense. Like, if that is the case, that would be so smart for them to do because it's so realistic, and then they can. The reason I wouldn't talk about it is to fully capitalize on it when Punk comes back.
Well, exactly. And there's been all this talk of like Tony Khan of like, oh, I can't talk about this, and because of legal reasons. And everyone's pointed out there's been nothing legal happen.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well.
So
Actually,
you say Ace Steel was fired. Now, you've got all these situations, and they say, look, there's going to be these 5 or 7 guys all having a fight. And it can't be 4 guys beating up CM Punk, so we'll give him a friend. And we can't fire Punk, but we'll say that they're all suspended. But we have to have a full guy, otherwise no one will believe it's real. So we had never seen... Yeah, Ace Steel, like... When Punk was like, oh, there's this contract or whatever, who's going to take it to challenge Moxley or whatever? Suddenly, Ace Steel gets in the ring, and no one knew who he was. And he's like, I'm Ace Steel. I trained CM Punk. And it's like, we'd never seen this guy before. Why did they give such a random dude such a big introduction? And then, like 10 days later, he's the one that's literally biting people on the arm and stuff like this. Yeah, it's like, so he was the full guy.
Yeah. And you could, to be fair, I could imagine them trusting Tony Khan for a handshake deal, just to pay him for the time being as well, like do some kind of deal. Yeah, to be fair. There's a lot of people doing handshake deals, like I said.
Yeah, and like Ace Steel's stock has certainly gone up. People didn't know who he was when he walked out.
Yeah.
They know who he is now.
Fair point,
everyone benefited from this. Like, even Mindy's Bakery is now a lot more famous.
So true,
yeah.
You know what? I could see that being the case, and if it's going to be anyone doing that, it would be Punk that would come up with that.
Yeah,
I hope that's true now.
And who's got the trios championship still? It's the Elite. What are FTR doing? And FTR are like, we're never used. And maybe Punk was like, maybe month after month they don't use FTR. So then we set up that we've got the Elite, the trios champion, maybe even add in Hangman Page. And then we can have CM Punk, FTR, and oh, look, it's Ace Steel. Everything writes itself. Everything writes itself. It's my ultimate conspiracy theory.
Okay. I'm slightly on board with that,
Now, it might not happen, and it may just be that simple. But this is what, as wrestling fans, we can do. We can really speculate about what's going to be next.
That's damn smart if they have done that.
So. Yeah. Okay, we've got 2 more matches of AEW. Then we can talk a little WWE before we look to wrap things up today. But we've got the Guns, Austin and Colton versus the Acclaimed, Bowens and Caster versus Lethal and Jarrett versus Orange Cassidy and Danhausen for the.
I was wondering if you've seen that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I did see that. So who do you think is winning this?
Okay, I don't think it's the Acclaimed. I don't think the Ass Boys will retain. So that just leaves me with
Lethal and Jarrett. Like,
what?
Jeff Jarrett was the solo winner of that Battle Royal a week ago. Now, obviously, his dad just passed away, and they may have felt like, look, we're going to give you a big win on TV. But I don't know who's taking this one. I'm not sure.
No, man. I would not, honestly. I would not be surprised if it's Cassidy and Danhausen. I really wouldn't be.
Ooh,
I think I might reckon that they're going to win. And I'm not saying they should.
Yeah.
But
the only reason I don't think they will is because Cassidy's still got the All Atlantic Championship.
Yeah.
Right
in the backpack.
Yeah. I don't know
And
if
how
I
let's about how else is Danhausen going to get a title?
well, true. I think if I had to put my money anywhere, I'm going to say the Guns retain because I still think the hot storyline will be the Acclaimed getting it back. Again, I think it's just lining things up for Double or Nothing. But then we have MJF and Bryan Danielson. And it's a 60-minute Iron Man match for the World Championship. So I suppose the question here is, one, who do you think will win? And two, what do you think the score will be by the end of the Iron Man match?
I don't think it's going to be a high scoring one. I think, I hope there's no overtime. I feel like 2-1 because of how long the matches in AEW go normally anyway. But I think MJF will retain. I wouldn't be
Really?
surprised if it fully out wrestles Bryan Danielson for the IWTV then. That's the story they go with.
Yeah. Do you know what? I have a sneaking suspicion. Look, and here's me going. I'm still in my Bret Hart way of thinking. What was if they go to a tie, an hour-long tie? You know, and in fact, we had what was that Bryan Danielson match when he first joined AEW? Who did he go against? And it was a tie. Was it Omega? It was Omega, wasn't it?
Omega,
Yeah. Okay, so maybe that's a bit done. I think MJF. If MJF loses this championship, I think it's going to be like this hasn't been a strong enough run as him as world champion.
Yeah, like I fully think Bryan Danielson should be the champion. Like I've thought it before, and I think he definitely should be at some point. But to your point, I think it's too early in MJF's run right now to take it off him.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude said something on TV and he got people calling the police on him. That shows how much heat and how much believability there is to his character, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, there we go. We have. Oh, hang on. This is weird. I've just checked out to see if there's any breaking headlines. It says Bryan Danielson wants his match to go on first at AEW Revolution because of his bedtime. That almost feels like it can't be a real story, but it is.
I hope not. No, I wouldn't be totally against it going on early.
Yeah. Oh my God. He says, in fact, we can do a screen share. I won't do a screen share for this. He says, I would love to convince Tony Khan to let us go on first, mostly because I go to bed really early. On Sunday, my wife couldn't believe this. I went to bed at 8:03 p.m. That is terrible.
I could believe it from him, you know. It seems like that kind of dude.
Well, like, because the whole thing is he was like the vegan and the tree hugger and like his. I want him to win just so he has a wooden AEW championship, you know, with a fallen oak and stuff like this, you know, the Hessian sack strap. Okay, so that's stuff in the world of AEW. The world of WWE, we are still on the road, obviously, towards WrestleMania. What have you, I guess the big thing that's been in WWE for the last several months, obviously Roman, but in particular Sami Zayn. And what do you think of Sami Zayn, the bloodline, everything they've done there? And I guess, like, should Sami find a way into the WrestleMania main event, which doesn't look like it's going to happen at this stage?
No, in all honesty, I don't think it should. I mean, I love the storyline. I love Sami Zayn, love KO during it. More so since he's come back. I don't know why. Like, it's just the last couple of times we've seen him, I've just really enjoyed his energy. But I'm so there for. I would love the Usos versus KO and Sami for the titles to headline night one. I would love that.
Yeah. Do you know what? We said that a week or two ago on the show, saying about now this year we only have one world title. Last year we obviously had KO and Steve Austin, and it doesn't look like they're going down any Legends route because there was the rumors that Austin had been offered a match with Roman or Brock or something like this, and that's obviously not happening.
Well, you haven't got Legends. Hold on, Logan Paul is there.
Well, do you know, like, okay, so here's the thing about Logan Paul is, like, I know lots of people dislike him. I don't really know him as a social media guy, but in the ring, he's like the second coming of RVD.
He's amazing.
It's like
great.
It makes absolutely no sense that this guy can do what he can do. He does a better buckshot lariat than Hangman Page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very good. I like him just for the stuff he does in the ring. Like the other stuff, I mean, yeah, that's outside stuff and it's different. There's
Yeah.
plenty of wrestlers that we probably shouldn't like that are in WWE and AEW right now. He's not the worst in regards to some of the people.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like Logan Paul, like I thought after, I guess it was Crown Jewel last year, that we would end up with the Usos versus the Paul brothers. Now, obviously, they've not gone that route. We don't know if Jake Paul can wrestle. I don't know if you're a boxing fan. I did check out Jake Paul and Tommy Fury, where I joked to people that it was the brother of Logan Paul versus the brother of Drew McIntyre's karaoke buddy. Because if you saw Clash at the Castle, they ended the show with some karaoke. I was there live, and I was like,
Oh, wow.
the reason they're doing this is so there isn't a riot because we're in the UK, and the UK just lost basically at home. So,
and I mean, to be fair, like if you ever watch Tyson Fury, he does that every time anyway.
yeah.
So it wasn't the craziest thing. It was funny that they forgot the words, or Drew did. That was nice.
Yeah. Oh dear. But no, I was at that show and I was like, oh my god, if Drew loses, they act. It doesn't matter about a sign. Like if Drew, or if Roman wins, we riot. We're in the UK and they will riot. So
yeah. We will
Tyson
actually do that.
in, a bit of bad karaoke. Everyone, half the audience laughed, the other half were disgusted. But they all they lost the oomph to riot in them. So
Yeah, exactly. They were entertained. They were sports entertained. How did
yeah.
you How did you feel about what was I going to say then? Oh yeah, sorry. Did you manage to get any tickets for Money in the Bank? Did you want to go?
I didn't. I'm so annoyed about this. Like, literally, I know that someone now on O2 priority, and I have an O2 phone, and I didn't know this until like the day, like the tickets went on sale like last Friday or something. I read about it on Saturday night, and I was like, damn, I missed this completely. So
yeah, it was later on Friday for me. The first thing I saw of it was like Money in the Bank tickets sold out in seconds or something.
Yeah.
So I know somebody that tried to get them and they went in and there was like a queue of 8,000 people ahead of them or something.
Well, this was the thing with Clash of the Castle last year, and obviously it's a much bigger arena. And it was coming up saying like tickets were like £2,000. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. And eventually there was like the £30 or £40 tickets up in the gods, couldn't see a thing. I was watching it on a screen anyway, but you're in the atmosphere.
Well, hopefully, if some come out like that for Money in the Bank, I'll try and get one myself as well, definitely. However high up you are, just to sing along stuff.
The sing along stuff. Do you know what? I went to last year in October, I went to Royal Quest 2, the New Japan Pro Wrestling show. So in fact, it's where I got this. And when I was at the show, I was like, this is literally just a sing along. Like everyone was, and I'm not the biggest. I followed New Japan enough, but I didn't get all of the references. But everyone there was like the die-hardest New Japan fans, and it was just a complete sing along.
I can't watch like the Japanese wrestling most of the time. They just don't care about each other's necks. It's hard for me to watch.
They don't what?
They don't care about each other's necks. They just drop each other on their heads.
Yeah.
Any Japanese wrestling I've watched anyway, that happens a lot.
Strong style, as they say.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still a ways away from WrestleMania to do full predictions, but just in terms of quick predictions, who do you think is leaving? Like, obviously, you said about. So we kind of got like diversity. You had said about the tag titles main eventing night one, and I kind of agree that if, like I said this a couple of weeks ago as well, if AEW have never had, even though they said about it's going to be about tag team wrestlings and started by the Young Bucks and all that, they've never had a tag team championship match in AEW. Ring of Honor did. They've never had a AEW tag team championship match main event pay-per-view. WWE have the opportunity here. I think this is their best opportunity. Give KO and Sammy a WrestleMania main event night one versus the Usos. I think that's the hot match. I do agree.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm not going to lie. One of the matches I am most looking forward to. Actually, I'll say that in a minute. Actually, you wanted a prediction for the
Well,
USO?
no, go for it now if you want. We could like.
Okay. Yeah. It's just because it's going to be funny to watch. Omos versus Lesnar. I am there for that.
Oh
I
no,
am
dude.
here
All
for
right,
that.
I am not
Sometimes you just want to
here
watch
for
the
that one.
world burn.
Right, that's I can't. I think Brock just won. Like I read this week or the last day or two that apparently Brock was offered Bray Wyatt,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm not on board with Bray Wyatt. Like I was like, okay, we'll give him a chance that he's coming back. Now this comes up frequently on this show. I couldn't get on board with the Firefly Funhouse match against John Cena.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that like I know some people love it. It was Marmite for me, and I could appreciate what they did, but it was
Yeah,
billed as a match, and they didn't wrestle a single move. I couldn't forgive that.
yeah.
And look,
No,
partly the reason I couldn't forgive it is that they'd done the cinematic match AJ and Taker the night before, which I thought
yeah.
was like I was like, if this is cinematic wrestling, it's like watching, the Undertaker was basically Clint Eastwood in a like the last Gunslinger movie or something. I was like, this is great. And then the next night I was like, no, if this is cinematic wrestling, I'm done with it.
You
You
know
know?
what, man? I was more the other way around. I wasn't that much of a fan of the Boneyard, but
Okay.
Firefly Funhouse and all that kind of stuff. I love like the old like horror films and that growing up like watching like the old 80s horror films and that. That's the full vibe I get from Bray Wyatt and the Fiend more than anything.
Yeah.
Once the movie just beat down, keeps falling down, but just keeps getting back up. I mean, they shouldn't. There's a whole list of things they did wrong with him. But yeah, I always like that, and I feel kind of like where they've gone with it now. It's a completely different story. I like it was kind of like a storyline on his own, and he just happened to be doing something with LA Knight during it. It's been like one long storyline to me, and I kind of see how it's still building. I'm confused exactly where it's going now, and I'm not sure how I feel about Uncle Howdy. In all honesty,
Well, Uncle Howdy seems to like he jumped, he missed his target with LA Knight, he fizzled out,
yeah.
and now maybe Vince is back and he's booking things, but like Bobby Lashley, who we could have had Brock and Bobby just to have like that one more match at Mania. We all knew what the match was going to be, but instead we got Bobby Lashley against Bray coming up, and I feel
So
sorry for
random.
Lashley. I'm a big Bobby Lashley fan. Years and years ago, when he was first in WWE, I was like, this guy is going to be great. And it kind of went wrong. And I kind of like a redemption story. So when eventually he came back, they ended up doing the whole him and Lana thing, which I was like, oh, well, this isn't going to be good. But then everything with the Hurt
And then
Business,
Max Caster being his sister, remember?
Max Caster being.
Do you remember when Sami Zayn had the three sisters of Bobby Lashley?
And one of
Three
them was
guys
Max
dressed as
Caster.
women. One of them was Max Caster, yeah?
Oh my God. I need to look this up. I did not realize that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow, I do need to look that
Mm.
up. That's amazing. But yeah, so yeah, we've got Omos and Brock. I think Brock just wants to have his Hogan slamming Andre moment, and that's
Yeah.
what it will be.
Yeah. And it was definitely a Vince McMahon call, this one. Like, which I'm okay with. I don't mind him having a couple of matches to throw on to WrestleMania. That's fine with me. Like, I'm assuming Bray and Bobby was exactly the same as well.
Yeah, quite possibly, quite possibly. But okay, so the big question on the prediction, just before we wrap things up here, is Roman and Cody. I would like to see Roman keep it for 7 years. I think no one is ever going to do it if they don't do it now. This is their one opportunity. We're 2 years in. It's only another 5 to go. Let's not start from scratch again with someone else.
Yeah. I wouldn't be. I'd be happy either way. It's one of those lovely matches where I would be legitimately happy either way. The only thing that bothers me about Roman is though, since he won the two titles, is you should have when you won the two titles on both shows, surely you should then appear on both shows, and he's just
Yeah,
never on Raw. And
yeah.
I'm worried though Cody will take them both and only be on Raw. which is the other thing I'm worried about. Though I think
I
there's more chance.
I think they need to find a way. Roman had the Universal Championship first. They need to find a way to separate them. They literally did have the Usos defend just the SmackDown belts and not the Raw belts a couple of weeks ago. They need to have something where what they should do, and it would be really cheap if they did it, but what they should do is Cody should win the title at WrestleMania, and he stands there with both belts and all this kind of thing. And he comes out on Raw to celebrate, and then out comes Paul Heyman, who says that somehow he's pulled a fast one, and that in the contract it just says for the World Heavyweight Championship. So I'm going to take this one back. You know, it's something like that. Just do it. Now the belts are separate.
Or even if they're trying to put like Cody across as if, really caring thing, like he's another John Cena, cares about the business and stuff. He's a businessman too. I wouldn't be shocked if he forfeited one of the titles so that there could be for the fans, that I want to give the fans, make sure there's a champion on each night, on each brand.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
I'll be there for both.
I just don't know who would actually do that when it came to it. Because if you remember when Rob Van Dam won the title, they'd hyped up that when Rob Van Dam defeats John Cena and he's going to rechristen this the ECW Championship, and he came out, he's like, well, here I am with the ECW Championship, and this one spins, so I'm going to keep this too. It's like, yeah, everyone will do it. Everyone's going to be like magnanimous and say, well, let's share until you've got it, and then you want to keep it. That's my view.
Yeah. They've already missed the perfect chance for it. Like winning the Rumble was always you pick which title you want to go for, exactly like Rhea did. They should have done it then. You could have picked which one you went for, and then Roman defended one on night one on night two. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, it would have been perfect. And maybe it's not too late, but I think the only way they could do that is if it was with Sammy. I don't think they've got another way of doing that now, and it just doesn't look like they're going to do it.
No, they would have had to start it before, like not have it a chamber, would have been great.
Yeah. Okay, well, look, I will have a quick check to see if there's any late breaking news, but if not, we will wrap this show for today. It's been awesome having you on, KD. You clearly know your stuff. It's good. If you'd like to be on again, it would be awesome to have you back.
I would love to.
Yeah, great. We do this pretty much every week, as long as I'm not having a car issue like I've had today, which it was a little bit of a late rush, but I still made it in the end. But awesome. No, it doesn't look like there's anything. One of the traditions that we do have on the show is an hour after the show has ended, there's like usually some late breaking news. Like when we've done the show in the past, like an hour later, it'll be like, oh, Vince has retired, or or like Tony has bought Ring of Honor or something like this. It comes out an hour after the show. But with this, KD, do you want to tell the audience where the people can find you?
Yeah. KD Comedy Inc. on Facebook, Spotify, and all the podcast channels. You can get KD Comedy Inc. podcasts. YouTube, which is KD Comedy Inc. Next Thursday, I'll be at the Hollybush too, if anyone's around the Cradley Heath, Birmingham way. And other than that, every Friday, every Friday I record Wrestling with Egos with some American dudes talking about wrestling. But not gonna lie, not too sure when that comes out in the week.
Okay, so perfect stuff. Now, on a similar note, so this is we're live, so this is when this come out, and today is like recently we've introduced the Slam Jam Wrestling Shows has its own dedicated YouTube channel, and tonight we've gone out live just on the Slam Jam channel. But this video will also find its way to the Extreme Improv Extremes YouTube channel, either at youtube.com/Extreme Improv, or if you're watching this live right now, or if you're not, head over to youtube.com/@Slam Jam Wrestling Show and smash that subscribe button. And also, you'll be able to hear the audio version of it. Again, that will probably come out tonight or tomorrow, so look out for that. Throat completely went dry there. But with this, until next time, stay safe, stay extreme. Ciao for now. And boom, we are off.